So, welcome to another edition of JASA Talks. And today, this is actually our first edition since the world as we knew it got turned upside down by this terrible COVID-19 virus. And we are seeing our world go in a direction that seems to be going virtually. And today, we have a very special guest who has kind of been on the forefront of making things go virtually, at least in her industry. We have my sister, Miss Amy Resnick, who is a educator. She is in the East Providence school system and is a fifth grade teacher. So, Amy, how's everything going? Thanks for coming on today.
Very good. Very good. Happy to be here.
So one thing I do want to stress to everybody, out there is Amy is my sister. I will always refer to her as Amy Resnick or Mrs. Resnick. And that is not how she's actually known now, either to her students or to her friends or even family. She is now the happily married Mrs. Almada. And it's Mrs. Almada's fifth grade classroom. It's not Mrs. Resnick's fifth grade classroom, even though me, as her brother, will continue to refer to it that way. But just wanted to clarify that for everybody in case I have any type of slips throughout this little interview process. So one of the big things that's going on everywhere and industry-wide, all industries, is the way we work is changing. And on your side of things, as far as an educator, especially an elementary educator, wanted to find out how your world's changing with all of this as far as, what's the term? Is it distance learning? Is that something that might be a little bit upfront with you now?
Yeah, distance learning, remote learning, virtual learning, online learning. Learning from home.
Awesome.
It's absolutely everything has changed. The whole traditional way of teaching has completely flipped, and it's been a learning process for teachers. And I'm sure, Matt, you can talk from the parent end of how it's influenced and changed the home.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, homes are never going to be the same after this. I mean, my dining room turned office, turned second grade classroom, turned lunchroom, gymnasium, library, art classroom, music classroom. It's been extremely interesting. So on the parent side of things, it has been challenging to say the least. And while we're talking about challenges, what kind of, besides like the obvious, would have been kind of like the biggest changes and challenges in, your everyday, day to day?
I think keeping students engaged and connected. It's so easy to go days now without seeing students, which is, as a teacher, the hardest thing. They can turn assignments in, and we can hope that they show up for our live assignment, our live meetings, but not being able to have that face-to-face, and being able to see as they're working through something, their success, or see their struggle. It's heart-wrenching on the teacher end of things to not be able to be a part of the whole process. So that's definitely been a challenge, to not be able to entirely, wholeheartedly be there for my students. The technology end of it, I fortunately have always been very into using technology in the classroom, but speaking for the educational community, not all teachers have been, and that's been hard to just be thrown into teaching in a whole different way and having to learn to do everything with your students has been definitely hard. And, the thing that's been really challenging is to think about the students that don't have a support at home, that it's not that their parents don't want to be supportive, but, on the end of that, their parents may be essential employees right now, that there may be students that are at home and trying to get through this on their own. Parents who don't have English as their first language and are trying to help navigate all of this and do their best. That's definitely been a huge obstacle.
Did you see did you see many students that, just didn't have the technology, whether it's didn't have Wi-Fi, didn't have a Chromebook, a laptop, an iPad? What what did the schools do to kind of, help with that side of things?
Yeah, so I'm very, very fortunate that in my district, they had a bounty amount of technology Chromebooks that were able to be signed out to all students that needed. So we're lucky that students could just go to our middle school, or parents rather, and by appointment rent essentially, not paying, but sign a contract and take a Chromebook home. But then, yeah, we found that some students, the families didn't have Wi-Fi at home, or at least not enough to support what needed to be done, and they did have to wait for the what was offered through the state. That Cox was offering these promotions for at least until the end of the academic year to support and give free Wi-Fi access to these families that needed it. Because yeah, there were some that did not. So at the beginning of that, we were offering paper packet kind of pickup for
Oh my
those
goodness.
students who did not have access to that.
Wow, wow. No, that was something that just crossed my mind here. And as you're seeing it, like you're in the trenches every day, are you seeing, the students, are you seeing them grasp the concepts the same? Are you seeing challenges as far as, hey, this student always used to get a 10 out of 10 on their test or whatever it was, and now they're getting 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. What am I doing wrong? Is it me? Is it something like that? What kind of stuff are you seeing with that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I every day question the validity of this whole distance learning, knowing that students aren't getting the same supports that they would in classroom. So even talking to students with IEPs, individual education plans, students of special education, that by law have to be getting certain things, being able to figure out how to provide those accommodations and modifications to them during this has been a huge challenge. Um, so, wondering if it's because they're not getting the same kinds of accommodations and modifications that they did in person, if that's the reason that some of the grades don't necessarily look the same, or quality of work, I should say. Um, and the other side of it's actually been the most surprising to me is the students that weren't getting the amazing grades that now seem to be kind of skyrocketing a bit. And after now it's been over 2 months of this, I've kind of started to speculate. I've got some evidence to either that maybe some students do perform better like this, but then there are some students that are getting a lot of help at home. And how, as a teacher, do you differentiate what the student's doing versus what a parent is helping them
Of
to be
course.
able to accomplish has been really hard.
So do you think, and I agree with that completely. I find myself in my own home, kind of at some points, rather than really teaching through it, kind of more showing this is how you do it. And sometimes that this is how you do it turns into, oh, hey, we're done and that's great. And it shouldn't be like that. However, with that being said, do you think, and I think it's very safe to say that your traditional first grader, second grader, third grader, fourth grader, fifth grader, and so on and so forth, coming into the classroom, whenever that is, whenever kids come back into schools, do you think it's going to be that same level of first grader, second grader, third grader, or is this something that we're going to have to be constantly changing curriculums and adjusting things to keep those students at the right pace and, not fall further behind, even though collectively all students in the country are falling behind a little bit?
Right. Yeah, no, and that's a huge conversation happening right now as we're getting ready to go into the summer in the education community. How are we going to best prepare for any gaps that are there in the fall? How are we going to collect data to even know how much has been learned during this time, to then prepare next year's teachers for that? Um, there's definitely going to be gaps. There are going to be things that a typical second, third grader, and so on would be coming into school with that they may not be as strong with. But I do think also on the other side of it that there are going to be skills that we hadn't been emphasizing before that they're going to be a lot stronger in. So my fifth graders who are transitioning to middle school, I don't think I could have ever prepared them to be as technologically savvy as what is happening right now. All of these really important 21st century learner skills that I always tried to instill and like kind of embed in my classroom. And now I had no choice. So my students are better typers. My students are better at navigating and completing research online without me holding their hand. So I think there's definitely some that's going to be at a detriment, but some that we may say, hey, they're actually a lot stronger than past year's students.
Gotcha. So there is, in your opinion, some level of a, quote unquote, silver lining within this, disaster of whatever's going on out there. And a lot of those skills that they're forced to utilize here at home while doing this distant learning, should end up correlating into the classroom and, potentially help them. So that's great. That's huge. So now when, I'm not going to say if, but when everybody gets back in the classroom, what type of changes are you anticipating? Are you anticipating your students, sitting like this at their desks and Mrs. Resnick, I need to use the restroom, like something like that? Or, what is it? Are they going to have like scheduled times for hand sanitizing and one person in the restroom and then somebody has to clean it? Or what types of crazy stuff out there are you guys anticipating?
I have no idea, but I can tell you I have been reading every proposal plan from across the country, and they all look tremendously different. From having staggered school days that, there's some students that are in school for more of a traditional day, and then others are online distance learning for that day to keep the school population down. I've seen that some are making class sizes a lot smaller, to be more that pod group. And, a lot of it then comes to feasibility and, what districts specifically can afford to do, that they have space to be able to do this. As far as the, hand sanitizing and all of that, I'm sure that that's going to be increased. The elementary level, everything is by schedule, that we kind of, at this time, is snack. We wash our hands before snack. We wash our hands before going to lunch. I'm sure our schedules will change and that routines will definitely be heightened. Mm-hmm. But the masks and all of that, as an elementary school educator, that I don't know how I could even see these kids keeping the masks on all day. And it's
how about teaching with a mask on all day?
And like the masks piece, it's I've been looking at, I don't know if you've seen the masks that have the clear end. I've had students in the past that are hard of hearing and that need to be able to lip read, and wow. Like there's just so many things that come into it. I don't know, but I definitely want to know so then I can prepare for it.
Gotcha. So one of the cool things that you've been able to accomplish during this pandemic is helping out a lot of fellow educators. I've obviously seen on the outskirts in the background your YouTube page where you started a page just to help some people and kind of caught fire with a lot of questions, a lot of followers, a lot of people like that. And we're sitting here at JASA Talks today. This obviously is something that streams through YouTube and all of those things. It's something that I certainly hope that your fellow educators that follow you will certainly come and follow us at JASA Talks for other things within our industry that may benefit them. But tell us a little bit about that transition when you started putting stuff up there, what you were originally thinking, and how it just came together like that.
So originally it was really just I was having a conversation with some more senior teachers who, when we, on that dreadful March 13th, that dreadful Friday the 13th found out that we didn't know when we'd be going back to our classrooms. There were teachers at school that were like literally like raiding their bookshelves and were making all of these copies and then freaking out at the copy room saying like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to put this on a computer? I don't know how to do this. And just me kind of thinking about like, how can I give what I know and share what I know to help ease a little bit of the anxiety for them. So originally I put one video out that was just how to take paper copies or a digital PDF and make it into something that students could edit or type on, so a digital worksheet. That caught fire. Then people started asking other questions, and I realized that, you know, what else do I have to do as we're all locked in our homes? But to share. So it just came as questions came. I started writing them down and trying to help.
Oh, it's great. It's something that we're seeing in a lot of industries. You know, industry professionals kind of banding together to help everybody get through this, and on your side of it, helping fellow educators as well as having to help all of the students and the families and, you know, everybody involved. It's something on the outside that's, you know, admirable and, you know, certainly unbelievable. You know, it definitely is. So pretty much, you know, we want to, you know, thank you for your time and thank you for, even though it's not military, it's not police, it's not fire, we want to thank you for your service, which it goes beyond everything as far as, you know, molding our youths and really bringing them through this. And the physical hand holding can't be there, but the ability to do it virtually and do it to help everybody involved is something that's special. And, you know, we at the CBD Center, and obviously me as your brother, you know, want to thank you for that. Okay. So again, we appreciate you coming on today, and hopefully you can keep us in the loop with everything, and everybody stay healthy, stay safe. Here at JASA Talks, we hope to see you guys very soon in person with some guests sitting next to me. And, you know, who knows, maybe we can have our 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Resnick, in once all of this clears, and we can have some social distancing in person and kind of really, you know, take this step to the next level. All right. So we appreciate everybody. Appreciate you, Amy, and look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you.
All right.